because at one point I was taking strong pain medication 24/7. Like I'd have to wake up at 3 in the morning to take the pain medicine because the pain would wake me up if I didn't wake up and take the pain medicine. It was really bad, like doubled over laying in bed.
Rachel, how did you find carnivore?
I'm so delighted to hear you say that. Frankly, actually, I don't ever remember searching, like Googling carnivore or anything like that. Um, I was kind of in a desperate situation, but leading up to that, I was a skinny kid like most people were, and didn't really have much issues with my health. I did have asthma as a child, but then I grew out of it, um, hoping that I still stay out of it because my mom did get it again when later in life, and so I'm hoping that doesn't happen to me. I'm hoping carnivore will help a lot with that. But yeah, I didn't really have many health issues growing up. Probably when I hit my 20s, somewhere in there, early 20s, I started to I should say, I started to feel the effects of the food that I was eating. I'm 52, so that was about 30 years ago. And, we were trying to do the right thing for the most part. When you eat at home, you're trying to cook healthy food, trying to follow the guidelines that we had at the time, which was low fat, lean meats, lots of veggies, that kind of thing, which I found very unappetizing. I mean, I think of all the decades of dry chicken breast and broccoli, and it's just infuriating to me because I'm like, I didn't even have to eat all that dry chicken and broccoli with no butter. So anyway, but yeah, I was trying to do the right thing food wise, but also, there was kind of a sense of being, I think, invincible, at that age. And so, some other times I would just kind of eat whatever, just whatever was convenient, whatever was fast. Um, and life gets more complicated as you get married and have kids and all that good stuff, buy a house, all of that stuff. So, kind of fast forward a little later into life, into my 40s, I started to feel more of the, I guess you could say it was perimenopause, but you could also say that it was what I was eating, probably a combination of both. Um, I was starting to feel less and less like myself, but it didn't really come to a head until I was 50. Is that true? 50? Yeah, 50, maybe 51. And that's when it got bad. Um, I mean, part of it was probably, like I said, the perimenopause thing, the hormones being out of whack. But there were so many things that I was dealing with. It felt like my body was falling apart. Like the brain fog was just horrible. And just trying to find the words and trying to stay on track, trying to pay attention. It was really, really hard to do. Um, and it was hard for me to stay awake because not that I would fall asleep at random places, but just I was just very, very, very tired, the fatigue was not quite debilitating, but nearly. I drank a lot of coffee, like a lot of coffee. And some Red Bull, some espressos, whatever it took to stay awake and to stay alert. Because by then I was a single mom. I had finished school. I went back to school later in life, and so picked up some bad habits with the caffeine and Red Bull at that time. And I was just trying to get through school. But yeah, by the time I hit like 50, 51, I was really dealing with a lot of female issues. I had uterine fibroids for a long time, and they didn't really bother me that much. I just knew that they were there. But about, let's see, December of 2022, yes, 2022, that was when it got really bad. November, December, it got really, really bad. I was in a lot of pain. There was a lot of bleeding, and it was just many, many, many days of the month. And I would go to the doctor and I'm like, what is going on? And they check my blood and they check my hormones. They're like, you look healthy. You seem like you're healthy. But yeah, I don't know. You should go see a specialist. I'm like, okay. So I go see a specialist, and it was one of those visits where they're like, you're still asking questions, and 5 minutes into the appointment, they've got their hand on the doorknob trying to walk out, and I'm like, wait, I have more questions. And basically, when I would see different doctors about the uterine pain and the bleeding and all of that, it was basically, you're probably going to have a hysterectomy. Or if you really wanted to, you could have an ablation. Now, ablation is not a good option as I see it. Now, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that have had hysterectomies, who've had the ablations, who've had some success, and they probably feel good about that choice. But an ablation is, I believe it's where they cut off the blood supply to your uterus, and basically it just kind of sits there. It seems like to me like it would be decaying in your abdomen. That doesn't seem like a good option to me. So I wanted to do something else. So since the doctors that I was seeing were basically saying my only options were ablation or surgery, to have it removed, I went to a naturopath, and it was not cheap. Naturopaths are not cheap. But I did that, and it was a good thing, because she really helped me to see some other issues, more root cause type issues. She actually talked with me about my food. She looked deeper into toxins and, gut issues and thyroid issues. And so that was a relief. It was overwhelming to get that much information, but it was a relief to finally have somebody say something other than, oh, you're healthy. It's just, you're just getting older, or you should just have a hysterectomy and be done with it. So it was really good to have some other options. I went on a lot of supplements, and I did feel better. I also went on some hormones. I went on progesterone. Progesterone's helped hugely, because at one point I was taking strong pain medication 24/7. Like, I'd have to wake up at 3 a.m. to take the pain medicine, because the pain would wake me up if I didn't wake up and take the pain medicine. It was really bad, like doubled over laying in bed if I didn't take the pain medicine. And then, of course, pain medicine has its own set of side effects. So it was really an unpleasant time, but thankfully the progesterone really helped, like hugely helped. So I was no longer in pain. I was no longer bleeding so frequently. And I just had more of like a normal life. And I could sleep better too, because at the time, I wasn't sleeping very well. And I forgot to mention before that, was it November 2019? I had a bout of diverticulitis. Now, this was it's not funny, but it was funny because it happened right after my husband and I had gone on that Dean Ornish, like the vegetarian, vegan kind of diet. And just, he lost like 30 pounds or something like that. And I got diverticulitis. So lucky me. But so yeah, we did that. And I, in the past, I had tried a number of different diets. I had tried, going vegetarian, going vegan, different things, watching the calories, trying to exercise a lot more, doing more protein and less carb. Now that I found actually worked really well for me, which is why I'm back to carnivore now. But at the time it was, it was Atkins. And I was so delighted with bacon and hamburgers and steaks. But what I was hearing from everybody else was that you're going to die of a heart attack or cancer. And so it was like, okay, well, I guess no more bacon and burgers for me. So, so I went back to trying all these other things. And in the past, I'd actually had some success with losing weight, when I focused more on lifting weights and, more protein-centric diet. That seemed to help a lot. And I was able to lose about 80 pounds at one time, like in my early to mid 30s. And so that was huge. That was great. So I was like, okay, cool. I took all that weight off, and now I know what to do. I'll keep it off the rest of my life. Yeah, no, that didn't happen. The hormone roller coaster hit. And it was really bad, and I put more weight on. The brain fog got worse. I have food allergies, which exacerbated the situation. And let's see, oh, depression, right? I had never really had depression before. Maybe perhaps a touch of it in my teen years, but I don't know. That might just be me being a moody teen. But yeah, it got really, really bad where I went on to on some antidepressants, with a doctor's guidance. And so, it helped me to feel better. It helped me to feel better. And then I wasn't feeling as hopeless anymore, because this is what happened when I was going through all of this. I was starting to feel really hopeless about my situation. Like, gosh, is this all that I have to look forward to in life, is just feeling like crap? I can't sleep. I can't think. I can make it to the couch and I can make it to the bed. It's like, this is no way to live. And it just felt like my body was just falling apart, and my brain was falling apart as well. And so, thankfully, when I got on the depression medication, I don't recommend it, but it got me out of the really deep rut that I was in, so that I could start to try to find a way out, So I started, I think it was it was in January of this year, after the Christmas craziness with all the eating whatever. But it was early January that I started looking, and I was like, I got to figure something out. Like, it can't be this bad for the rest of my life. So I had started exercising again a bit, and I was like, well, maybe I'll look back into keto, because that's supposed to be good. I just could never sustain it because I have horrid sugar cravings, and I'm like really sensitive to carbs. So so I was looking at videos on keto and trying to get myself motivated to start it again. And that's when Carnivore popped up. And it was so funny because I looked at these videos. Now, I'm one of these people that talks to the television when I watch TV. They can't hear me, but I still have to voice my opinions. So I'm watching these Carnivore videos, and I was like, these people have lost their mind. I was like, I'm like yelling at the videos. I'm like, this is crazy. Okay, up is down, down is up. We live in the upside down. It was just because it's so opposite of what we've always been told, right? Well, at least, okay, I won't say always. I'll say for the majority of my life, it's what we've been told to. I mean, it was the opposite of what we've been told to: avoid the fat, avoid the saturated fatty meats, and avoid all that stuff. Eat the lean meats, the dry chicken breast, have the dry broccoli, all of that. And so when people were saying they were eating bacon and eggs and get the fatty cuts of meat and all that stuff, I was like, you are insane. This can't be right. So I kept listening, though, because I don't know, maybe it was entertaining. I don't know. So I kept listening to the videos, and I was like, I got to see another one. I'm like, click it. I got to see another one. What are they talking about? And so, but I listened to the doctors, right? And I was like, well, they got some science here. There's something to that. And, but what really got me was listening to people's stories. No, they're not a doctor. They're not a scientist. They're not an influencer. They're just a guy, or just a lady like me. I'm just a desperate middle-aged woman trying to figure out how I can make my body work again, and listening to story after story after story after story of people who felt like me, who felt like they had no hope, who felt like, I don't know what to do. The doctors say I'm healthy. I feel like crap. I know when I was healthy, I didn't feel like this. So how can I possibly be healthy? But nobody can help me, So that really resonated with me. It really struck a chord. It really hooked my attention, you know, and it made me want to listen to more and more and more stories. And that's really where your channel comes in, because it, you know, especially in the very beginning, well, one, helping to convince me to try it, to try this wacky diet that's the opposite of everything I've ever been told, but people are having success with it. Like, okay, I'll try it. And then in the very beginning, just convince me to stick with it, because I want my own success story, right? I mean, that's why we do stuff. We want our own success story. And so I kept with it. And there were times where, you know, things would stall out, you know, weight loss wise. And there's some things that I still haven't, you know, completely, you know, gotten rid of. But in the 6.5 months that I have been doing this, my life has completely changed. Completely. Now let me find my little list here, because this is important. Okay. The weight loss began. Now, I still have a long ways to go on weight loss, but I've lost about 35 pounds. And it's been coming off, other than my, you know, stalls here and there, pretty consistently, you know. And I'm one of those people that gets discouraged pretty easy with weight loss. And so to keep me, you know, like engaged and encouraged about this, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. So that, okay. The other thing is, oh, I mentioned before, the sugar cravings. I have a really, okay, my mom called it a raging sweet tooth. I mean, I think that that's an understatement because I would fixate on the next sugary thing that I could get in my hands. I would rely on it to keep me awake. You know, the chocolate treats and the Snickers, little baby Snickers bars and stuff. I'd keep like chocolate covered almonds with caramel. You know, I would keep if I would bake a cake, if I had to bake a cake to bring to a family event, I would bake 2 cakes. One stays at home and one goes to the party. And I would just work on that cake. So then when they'd be like, oh, Rachel, do you want to take some of your cake home? I'm like, oh, no, I'm good. You guys enjoy it. I know I got a cake at home. I got it. So I'm just, oh, man, I really do love my sugar. So that was a really huge thing for me to get past. Now, what I ended up doing was I took Kelly Hogan's advice about not letting any sweet taste pass my lips. That is the only way that I have freedom from this sugar thing, because I mean, like I really did. It's like while I was still eating my piece of apple pie a la mode with caramel on top, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm coming to the end of it. What am I going to have next? You know, and I would fight those cravings so hard, you know, but then sometimes I would just lose and I would just give in and I would just have it. And yeah, it really took over my life. Not took over my life. It was very distracting. Let's put it that way. It took up a lot of my brain space. I don't know.
Kind of, it didn't take over your life, but it was too big a part of your life.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely always there, like in the back of my mind. When are you going to have another thing? You know, so yeah, that was huge. Also, something else that happened was the snoring stopped. I was a bit of a snorer. That stopped. My energy has improved. It's not perfect because I have cortisol issues where it doesn't quite go up, you know, and when it should. So I still get a little bit of fatigue in the afternoons or late mornings sometimes, but it's definitely improved a lot. I used to have like dandruff and scalp itching. Like it would be red and itching and just angry scalp, you know. Don't have that anymore. Obviously I lost some weight. I'm gonna say obviously, meaning I told you earlier. I lost some weight. So, you know, my waist actually got slimmer. That's a big deal for a 52-year-old woman to have her waist get slimmer. So I'm pretty proud of that. Let's see, my skin has improved a bit, you know, I mean, still a work in progress, but it's only been 6.5 months. Acid reflux. I used to have acid reflux at night when I would go to bed. I would have to sit up in bed so that the acid wouldn't come. It was really unpleasant, hard to sleep. So that's gone. I used to have hot flashes. Now, hot flashes, I get a little warm sometimes here and there. It's more like a little bit of a warm flash, but not like before, not like sweating. So yeah, that's improved significantly. I'm not dropping things. I would just randomly drop things, and I don't do that anymore. I don't know what that is. My balance is a little bit better too. What else? I told you the sleep has improved, but that was partially because of the progesterone. My anxiety has improved. I used to be such the worrier. I still have that tendency, but it's not as constant, you know, the worrying. And the depression, that's gotten a lot better. I'm on half of the dose of the antidepressants that I was on before. So I've been working with my doctor to cut that down. Um, I wasn't diagnosed with this, but like I had this thing, I think they call it misophonia, where certain sounds just make you angry. They just really, really make you upset, you know? And oh, I had that. I had that. It's not, there's a touch of it there still. Like I said, it's only been 6.5 months, but it's reduced, you know? Like I don't get really, really angry at the sounds. It's just kind of like, there's that sound, you know? And then I can switch my attention to something else. So that is super duper great. That's a really good thing. Seasonal allergies. Okay. As part of the carnivore diet, I had originally I was doing all the dairies, and I joined Kelly Hogan's group, you know, for the coaching group, just because I was just at the beginning it was just me doing it by myself, and I didn't know what I was doing anyway. I was just watching a bunch of YouTube videos and trying to figure it out. And you know, I just got up and went to the HEB, the grocery store, and just picked up a bunch of meat and decided to start one day, you know. So um so I wanted to join the group so that I could get some information, get some coaching, get some guidance. And they recommended that I try taking dairy out. And so I was like, all right, I'll try it for a couple weeks and see if it makes a difference. And I was like, hopefully nothing will happen because I really didn't want to get rid of the dairy. Well, as it turns out, the seasonal allergies was a big deal. It really improved that. Now I still have a few sneezes here and there, but I don't have just like the clogging up and the draining and draining. It's just, you know, it's just a few sneezes here and there. And that is so great because it was like sometimes it would be like spring to fall. It would just allergies, allergies. So that is wonderful that that's gotten so much better. And I on your channel, I saw Dr. Leisha Town was interviewed, and I reached out to her and got connected with her, and it has been great to have a carnivore doctor. I am so excited to have a carnivore doctor. It is, I just feel like I'm not second guessing, you know, like, well, but what I heard was this, but what they're telling me is that. Now it's all consistent. And so I feel like I have a lot more trust in her and in her way of treating us. All right, now my husband and I both see her, and it's really good to have, you know, to have a doctor that you can trust. And not that there, no, let me be careful there. I have had some other doctors that I've trusted. It's just that as of late, I have been finding in my current state of life that the doctors were telling me everything is fine and it wasn't fine, you know, or I would try to have a treatment of some kind and they're like, no, we're not going to do it. Or they would say yes, and then the insurance company would turn it down, that kind of thing. So I've gotten a little jaded when it comes to, you know, the healthcare system and the way that, you know, these large medical groups work with the insurance companies. And I find that the more I spend out of pocket, the better I feel and the better care I get. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that's totally understandable, you know, especially when you're going to a doctor and your doctor's telling you something that doesn't marry with the way you're feeling inside. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
there's something wrong with this.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. Agreed. But I'm still figuring this out. I don't have all the answers. But I'm still figuring it out. And again, I feel optimistic. I mean, things are just much, much better. I feel more like myself again, like 10 years ago, maybe. It's not to say that I'm 10 years younger. I'm not. It's just I feel so much better than I have in so many years. And it's funny because it happens so slowly. It's like, the boiling a frog thing. It's like you don't realize how much worse things are getting because it's happening so slowly. And then you look up one day and it's like, oh yeah, of course, I'm used to being in pain and bleeding all the time, and can't think and can't remember what I was just supposed to do or say. That's just, it's not right. It's just not right. So I'm glad that things have improved so much. Like I said, I've been doing this 6 months, and I'm on my way. I haven't reached my goal yet, but I'm on my way. I feel like I'm well on my way, and I feel optimistic. I feel optimistic about the future because I don't feel like I'm just like decaying and decaying until I die, you're breaking down until I die. I feel like, okay, I've got a good future ahead of me here. And yeah, I just feel optimistic.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So for 6.5 months, what's your eating been like? Are you 2 meals a day, 3 meals a day?
Usually 2 meals a day. I'll have the coffee in the morning, and since I gave up my beloved heavy whipping cream, I'll put like a little bit of vanilla and cinnamon and some Kelly Gold butter, the Irish butter. So, and then I'll just whip that up with a frother. So that's been delicious, and it gives me the butter gives me a little bit of energy too to start the day. So I'll do that, and then around noonish, I'll have some breakfast, and usually like eggs and bacon, or maybe a Polish sausage. They've got those. I get this brand at Costco. It's Teton Ranch. They're supposed to be they're supposed to be pretty good. They're pretty clean. So yeah, I have that, and then later in the evening, I'll make dinner, which might be like a steak or burger patties. What else? Steak, burger patties. Oh, sometimes I'll have chicken, but not the dry chicken breast. I'll have a little chicken, or I'll have some shrimp, or what else? Oh, salmon. I love salmon. Love salmon so much. Yeah. So, fish, that kind of thing. And then just chill out for the rest of the night and go to bed. And the really cool thing is there's no cravings in between. In all of that, there's no cravings. I mean, yeah, there might be a little bit of, hey, how about a piece of carrot cake? But it's not, it's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Sorry. So, but I'm not in the cabinets, like looking around and in the refrigerator, standing in the refrigerator. It's not like that anymore. I don't think about the food until until it's like, oh, it's 6 o'clock. I guess maybe we should look at dinner, So it's really nice to have freedom from all the cravings and like the fixating on the sweet foods and the starchy foods and the potato chips and the crackers and all those good things, which I don't have those things anymore. Now, I'm not super duper strict carnivore. I mean, I try to be, but I'll have coffee, I'll have spices. Not heavy spices, but like salt, pepper, garlic, that kind of thing. But I pretty much try to stay as consistent as I can. I will sometimes have a glass of wine, but I try to do the zero residual sugars kind, and I try to have it with food so that at least the sugar spike is tempered a bit. But it's not that often. I try to stay away from that.
Yeah. So I think the best thing about this is the way that the satiety works. Like, because until you've done carnivore, you don't really understand what satiety is, right? Because
Definitely.
in the past, satiety is just bloating, right?
Yes, true. Eating till you're stuffed, and then you feel terrible about it. So yeah, it's great to just eat and be done with it, and then the meal's over, and I don't think about it.
Right.
That's
It's
great.
so nice not to be tied to the kitchen, right?
Yes. Yes. Which is a good thing because we have a small space that we live in. And so kitchen's really close. So it's nice that it's not a big distraction.
Yeah. So before you mentioned your husband. So is
Mhm.
he doing this with you?
Okay. This is a fabulous, fabulous story. Okay. My husband is, he was vegetarian for like over a decade, like for a long time. And, we tried vegan together. I mean, I'm sure he had moments where he did vegan here and there, but we did that together. And I told you, like, he lost a ton of weight. I got diverticulitis, but for a while when I first started Carnivore, I just ran out to the store and bought a bunch of meat and cheese and cream and stuff and came home and I was like, so this is what I'm gonna do. He's like, what? But he watched, basically. He watched how I was doing, what I was eating, how I was feeling, and he saw what I went through, in 2022, 2023 when I was feeling my worst. And he was very worried about me. And so for him to watch me change and improve and in my health and to get better and to feel better, he was convinced that it was a good thing for me. Let's put it that way. He was convinced it was a good thing for me. He wasn't so sure if it was a good thing for him. So I said, well, why don't you just try keto? I mean, you seem to do fine with all these veggies. I have all these food sensitivities. Why don't you just try keto? And so he did that for a while, and he actually lost like 20 pounds. He's not a heavy guy. I mean, he's very active. He rides his bike all the time. He hikes mountains. He lifting weights all the time. I mean, he's very, very active. And so he didn't have a lot of weight to lose, but he's 10 years older than me. He's 62, and later on in life it's not quite as easy, but or at least that's what I've always been told. Maybe that's a lie too. So so he did keto, and he started seeing some success with that. And so he was like, well, maybe I should try carnivore, maybe not. He was concerned about his family history because they've got oh gosh, what's it called? Like the cardiovascular issues and things like that in their family history. So he met with Dr. Talon and talked with her about, through the history and is this safe for me to do and all that. And so they came up with, yes, let's try it for 90 days. So he's about maybe 45 days into it or so. So we are actually eating the same meals. It's wonderful because for a while there, I was cooking 2 meals every night. But I didn't mind, I mean, I kind of minded, but, I did it because I felt like it was good for me. And, I still wanted him to have what he wanted to have. So, I mean, so far, so good. It's really going well. I thought he was going to have a hard time with red meat in particular, which I adore. Like, I feel best eating beef, having a steak, having burgers. I feel my absolute best with beef. And so I was kind of like, do you want to try a steak? And so he was like, well, I don't know. And even he and Dr. Town were like, we'll just take it slowly. Let's just take it slowly. And so we did. We kind of a little bit here, a little bit there. He had no problems with it at all. And so that was really, really cool to see that. I was surprised. I thought he was going to not be able to do the red meat, but it was a bumpy start at first because when you switch like that, it's a bumpy start at first. but yeah, he's doing it now. He really likes it. It still surprises a lot of people that know him well and know that he's been a vegetarian for so long and now he's eating steaks. So, but it's really nice to have us be able to do this together. And he's been a really great support, even when he wasn't doing it himself. He was a really great support because he saw how much it was helping me. So that's been really good.
That's awesome. And he's feeling better?
Yeah. I mean, he's trying to think if there was, I don't know if he's noticed a bunch of changes yet. I mean, he was doing keto. I think he noticed more changes when he switched to keto. And so it's kind of like a continuation, of that improvement that he felt then. So, but we're going to
Okay.
see. He's giving it 90 days, and then see what all is going to change. He's going back to get his blood work done again to see how that goes. Actually, you know what? Actually, on keto, his HDL went up. He had for years not been able to get it over 40. And when he started the keto, it went up above 40. So that was a really good thing. That was a really good thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So based on your experience, if one of your friends said to you, I want to start carnivore, what do I do? What would you advise?
Wow. They could start the right way, or they could start the way I did. Um, the right way is probably ease into it, start pulling back on the carbs a bit, start pulling back on the seed oils, start to get down to the non-starchy carbs, the non-starchy vegetables, and then start to pull those out eventually. That would be the right way to do it. But I don't have that personality. So I'm more of a all or nothing kind of gal, because if I try to do that a little bit, it's never going to happen. That was the reason why I couldn't do keto before, because it was too hard for me to resist the things that I shouldn't have. It was just too much of a slippery slope. And so I just couldn't do it. But that's my personality. I mean, not everybody has that personality. My husband's the opposite. He's Mr. like discipline. If he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. And I'm like, just be nice. So, but yeah, that's what I would advise. I would also advise to do the research. I mean, even if it's YouTube research, there's a lot of information on YouTube. Consult the doctors, find out what books to get, read the books. And then I would recommend listening to people's stories, because there's something about that human element. It goes beyond science and knowledge and all that stuff. It's just, this is how it helped my life, and this is how I'm a better person for it, and this is how I'm enjoying my family and each day more so because of changing my food. And this is how pissed I am that I was told the opposite for like 30 years. So, but I mean, there's a lot of research to do. There's a lot of great information out there. All the like, what was it, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Anthony Chafee. I love listening to Dr. Georgia Ede, who has that book, Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. Love, love, love listening to her. I want to be her when I grow up, but I kind of missed that window. So, but I love listening to her, Dr. Chris Palmer. There's a bunch of doctors that really know their stuff. Oh, Dr. Phil Ovadia, or Ovadia. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but he's another one who actually I gave his book to my husband to read, and he really enjoyed that. He found that very informative. So yeah, I would say do the research. So, because people are going to question you. People are going to say, you're going to kill yourself. You're going to die from this, but you're not, everything's going to be fine. And, but you got to have that conviction yourself, because people are not going to agree with it. And even sometimes, like, I don't agree with it. Like in my head, it's like, but what about all that fat? But what about the saturated fat? But what about, and it's like, no, we've already talked about this. This is fine. So it's just that it's good to have that base of knowledge so that you're convinced and you can be steadfast in what you're doing.
One of the key criticisms that people would have, whether they are anti-carnivore or someone who's just thinking about starting carnivore, is it's too restrictive. After 6.5 months, what would you say about that?
So I actually find it much simpler. I don't think that I would call it, at least my experience of it is not restrictive. My experience of it is it's simple and it's easy. If it's meat, it's for me. If it's not meat, that's not for me. That's it. It just makes it a lot easier. Whereas if I'm trying to, like, well, how many carbs are in this and how many net carbs, and, is how many did I have today, and do I have room? And it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, that's the restrictive part, right? It's like 3 hours in the kitchen
Yes.
and having to wash 500 pieces of crockery and stuff when you're finished.
Yes. Cutting everything, cleaning everything up. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
so happy not to have to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. So have you had any friends talk to you about like what is this that you're doing?
I have had family notice the changes. I went to visit my dad, and my stepmom saw me down the hall. She said, "Where's the rest of me?" She cracks me up. I was like, "Well, I slimmed down a little bit, you know." So, but yeah, I was talking with my dad and my stepmom about it. Um, I don't think that I've like convinced anybody to start it themselves, other than my husband. It's just more. Everybody's kind of like, "Huh, what are you doing? Wow, that's working for you. How about that?" You know, like my mom, my sister. You know, they've seen it too. My daughter. Um, it's funny. My mom has been a vegan for like 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. And so I was really nervous about telling her about doing this carnivore diet. And I was like, oh God, how's this gonna go? And she's like, everybody is, you know, different. If this is what works for you, then that's great. So it's wonderful because it's actually when we go out to eat, it's actually cheaper because I'll get like the fajitas platter and add extra meat. I'll eat the meat. She eats everything else. It's all good, you know? So there hasn't been like, you know, all these unpleasant conversations, like people confronting me about it, about my choices or anything like that. It's been good actually.
Awesome. So, Rachel, if people want to reach out to you, do you have any social media or any way of getting in contact?
Well, I don't have like a Facebook page or I mean, I'm not sorry, I do have Facebook. My email address is love and life. It's LOVINLIFE 581 at yahoo.com.
Sure, I'll link to that in the description below.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, Rachel. I really appreciate your time.
No problem. I'm really happy to be here and I really, really, really appreciate everything that you do. And I would encourage other people to come on the show and share their story because every story is a little bit different. Everybody's got something unique going on, and that one thing that's different, or even just the same as others, might be the thing that really speaks to someone out there who's watching. So I would really encourage people to share their stories. So thank you so much, Dave.